In their effort to protest, the activists sailed near the oil rig in inflatable boats. They tried to climb aboard to raise a banner. That's when Russian authorities began spraying them with a high-pressure water blast. They fired warning shots. Authorities from Russia whipped out the handcuffs. They seized the boat, claiming the activists endangered the crew on the rig. Greenpeace says they were arrested in international waters. 28 activists. We're talking young people from around the world, plus 2 journalists charged with hooliganism. And they face up to 7 years in a Russian prison. 7 years! Now, Peter's an American citizen, peacefully protesting, trying to stop oil drilling and protect our environment. And now he faces the possibility of years behind bars. Straight out to the director of Greenpeace U.S., Philip Ranford. And by the way, I have to say, full disclosure, I've been a member of Greenpeace for years. The U.S. State Department says it's aware of what's happening and monitoring the situation. I say monitor schmonitor. Philip, why isn't the U.S. government doing more to help one of our citizens?
Well, Jane, the U.S. government is working incredibly hard, mostly behind the scenes, to make sure that Peter and others are freed. I think the big issue is, why are companies like Gazprom and why are key elements of the Russian government pushing with such over-the-top charges against peaceful protesters who are just alerting to the world to the danger of an oil spill in the Arctic?
I'll tell you why they're doing it. They want to send a message to everybody. Pipe down, be quiet, be oh so very polite. Do not speak your mind, because you don't want to end up like that. And it's a message frankly, when somebody says that to me, I say the exact opposite. I get louder. I want to bring in a very special guest now, Maggie Wilcox. Maggie, your husband captained the Greenpeace ship, Arctic Sunrise. Your husband is currently in a Russian prison when he should be at home with you in Connecticut. What are you and your family going through right now? Speak to me from your heart. Maggie.
Hello. Well, it varies from day to day. I try to take my cue from Peter, who is a very stalwart man and is toughing this out in the best way he can. But it's difficult. The whole situation is so entirely unpredictable and has been from the get-go. You know, who would have imagined this overwhelming reaction on the part of the Russians? So it's very, very difficult. You know, I'd like to think that the Russians would have enough common sense and be aware of the world's eye on them right now in regard to this whole situation, that they would want to come to a quick resolution, but it's been so unpredictable that I don't dare have that faith. So
this is an intimidation game. Russian authorities claim the activists put the crew of the rig in danger. Critics say this is just another example in a long line of activists who are facing overly harsh punishments for challenging the increasingly repressive Russian government under Vladimir Putin. Remember Pussy Riot, the feminist punk rock group? They were arrested and tried for their really almost like performance art protests.
Мне хотелось бы процитировать песню группы Pussy Riot. Откройте все двери, снимите погоны, почувствуйте с нами запах свободы.
Great documentary, by the way. You got to see it. I watched it, loved it. Some have gone so far as calling the arrest of the Greenpeace activists the Pussy Sunrise, because it's like the group of young women who were arrested and they sit in jail. So I got to go back to Phil, the head of Greenpeace U.S., these 28 Greenpeace activists facing the same fate as these young women who like to dance in the street and they're thrown in jail. What do you feel this is an attempt to send a message to people who are progressive, who are forward-thinking, who are speaking up for the voiceless oceans and the voiceless creatures in the oceans, the whales and the dolphins and all of these other animals who have no one representing them? Shut up, or you're going to end up in jail.
I think it is, and I think, as Gandhi said, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. And right now they're fighting us, and they're fighting us hard. And it's going to be up to all Americans and people around the world to call on the Russian government and world governments to honor what these people have sacrificed to protect the Arctic and to call for the freedom of the Arctic 30 today.
Well, they're my heroes. I want to go to the phone lines. William, Wisconsin. What do you have to say, William?
Jane, we love you, and I feel that the United States should have some sort of security blanket, even if they had a destroyer floating around and maybe a submarine deployed to the areas where our people are, to lock somebody up because they speak their piece. I think it's a disgrace for the United States to let that continue. We have to take a stronger stand. Hello?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Maggie Wilcox. We have to stand up for those speaking out for the voiceless around the world. Your husband is a hero who is certainly not getting anything out of this. He's risking his life repeatedly because he feels that we're destroying our world, which we are. Mm-hmm. Why isn't the U.S. government, like this guy said, send a couple of ships around so that they don't do this?
I really don't know. I really don't know. I think that there's a much bigger scenario at play here that the average American and layperson doesn't have a clue about, and I'm really terrified that these people are just going to be pawns in that bigger scheme.
Well, nothing important is easy, and this is very difficult. These are my heroes. I pray that they get out okay so that they can live to protest another day. Later, a doctor accused of killing his wife, all so he could be with his mistress, will the words of his adult daughter send him to the slammer